my name is Brittany, and if you are new here, then welcome. I am reviewing The Dragon Reborn, the third book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan today, and I am a first-time Wheel of Time reader, so if you are a longtime fan of the books, or if you are just a die-hard fan, please do be a little easy on me in the comments. My goal for the series is to have all 14 read before the Amazon Prime TV adaptation goes up. If you haven't watched my previous reviews of books 1 and 2 and you are interested in those, I'll be linking them. We're going to jump right into this review. It will be spoiler free for just a portion of it. It is the third book in a series. There's only so much that you can say before it becomes spoilery for someone who hasn't read any of the books. Don't worry, you will get a warning beforehand, so just stay tuned for that. Otherwise, let's just jump in. So The Dragon Reborn starts with everyone already split up. One thing that really stood out to me about this book compared to the first two especially was that Rand doesn't really have a lot of point of views in this book. So we get a couple of small sections for him, but for the most part his presence isn't even really there. And that was really compelling for me because we spent so much time with him in books 1 and 2 that kind of getting a different perspective of him from the people that are around him or that are worried about him was really interesting. Robert Jordan did such a great job with this book that Rand isn't even really in it that much, and yet it's still very much about Rand. I also loved it because we got way more Perrin than we did in the previous two books, and also Mat. He at long last feels like a real character in this book, and so that was like a breath of fresh air to get some of Mat. And the women in this book, they develop pretty well. I love Robert Jordan's world building. So he has a very magnificent way of introducing information that is important, that you absolutely need to know about these different cultures and about the world building in general, in a way that doesn't feel like an info dump. Info dumps can work, and I'm not like strictly opposed to an info dump. But if you are able to get your world building across so where I can understand a culture through the text of the book in such a way that I don't even realize that that's what you're doing until I stop and think about it, I'm going to prefer that. So one great example of kind of like the layers of a culture who we hear about, we get a little bit of an introduction to in the last couple books, but really starts to peel back some more in this one, is the Aiel. We also get to learn more about the Aes Sedai, which if you've watched my first two videos, you know that that's one of the elements of this series that I really love is the Aes Sedai and learning about channeling and the magic system. We also learn more about the Forsaken, which I was pretty interested in. We get to see some of them in this book, which was very interesting. And we learn about the Black Aja, which of course is something that gets introduced in the last book and further is expounded upon in this book. We're introduced and we get to see a pretty thorough examination of at least the culture of Tyr. So I rated the book 4 stars on Goodreads. I really enjoyed it, but the pacing of The Dragon Reborn seemed slow to me after The Great Hunt. It did take me a couple weeks to finish The Dragon Reborn, whereas it only took me between a week and 10 days to finish the first 2 each. So I did have a bit of a problem with the pacing. Overall, I did really enjoy The Dragon Reborn, and of course, if you are reading the series, I think you should, if you get to The Dragon Reborn, you should read it. Because this is the third book in the series. That's all I can really say that's spoiler free. Click away from the video at this point so that nothing gets spoiled. I want to say how much I enjoyed learning about the world of dreams in this book. It was really interesting to learn that Perrin could go into the world of dreams as well as Egwene. So we kind of find out that Egwene is a dreamer. That wasn't really a surprise because up until this point, it kind of seemed like the world of dreams was part of the One Power and channeling. But then we learned that Perrin can also enter the world of dreams through his wolf dreams. It adds another layer to the magic system in the world building, and so there are people who don't channel like Perrin who can enter the world of dreams. And I really like the world of dreams, and I am pretty convinced that the ter'angreal, that the accepted trials are in the world of dreams. I think that they're connected to them in some way. Egwene being a dreamer also pays off in the book because we get to see her powers grow. She's really able to use the world of dreams to her benefit. We start to kind of see that Egwene, she wants to learn as much as she possibly can and at any cost. So Egwene, Nynaeve, Elaine, and then Mat, because now he needs to be healed, they all are heading to Tar Valon with an Aes Sedai named Verin. Verin is a brown Aja, which of course they're like almost like the librarians. Verin is super suspicious. She is so suspect. First, she figured out that Rand could channel, and in the last book, she helps Rand use the portal stones. That made me a little suspicious of her. Add on to the fact that she ends up following them in the last book because she tells them that Moiraine said that they might have need of her. And we found out that Moiraine did not send her. In this book, she gives Egwene this ter'angreal that makes it easier for her to enter the world of dreams. And maybe I'm being influenced because our point of view characters don't trust Verin. But I certainly don't trust her either. So we saw Elaine and Egwene get raised to accept it. But it also seemed like kind of a bad move on Siuan's part, because regardless of how powerful Elaine, Egwene, and Nynaeve are, they're untrained. Like, they have had, like, almost no training. So it kind of seems weird that you would take, like, these untrained girls and send them out to do this, like, very important work, even if they are the only ones that you feel like you can trust. So I was questioning Siuan's choices at decision in doing that. I was really disappointed that we didn't get to see Elaine's trials because I was actually really curious about them. But we do get to see Egwene's. It kind of made me think, like I alluded to a couple minutes ago, that those arches, the ter'angreal, have something to do with the world of dreams. Partially because during Egwene's trials, like, they start malfunctioning, essentially. They talk about how the last time that had happened, it was because there were two ter'angreal in the same room that could do similar things. And this happens right after Egwene is given the ter'angreal by Verin, who makes it easier for her to go into the world of dreams. So it just kind of seems like the accepted trials where they see, like, their fears or whatever have something to do with the world of dreams, because otherwise why would her ring ter'angreal, like, kind of mess it up? The other thing that makes me think that they have to do with the world of dreams is that I thought it was interesting what Egwene saw in her trials. So first, I thought it was interesting that, of course, all three of her fears revolved around Rand. The second being that dark friends in the Black Aja and the Forsaken, as long as they get, like, a circle of 13, channelers in 13 Fades, I think, as well, that they could, like, forcibly turn him to the Dark One. That's a real thing that could happen. And so she kind of, like, finds that out through the arches. And then her third arch, I thought, was foreshadowing. She was the Amyrlin Seat. Elaida basically became her enemy and, like, opposed her and was going to gentle Rand. And that's the one where she has to forcibly open an arch in order to get out. I thought that was foreshadowing. I made note of it specifically because I think that of the three girls that we follow who are in the tower, if one of them were to become the Amyrlin Seat, it would kind of have to be Egwene. And we also find out that she was raised from the Green Aja to Amyrlin in this third archway. And so when she leaves the archway, she asks Alanna, who is a Green Aja, about the Greens, and basically finds out that they're also called the Battle Ajas. And that is probably why they bond more than one warder, rather than that they just like men. And then, of course, Lanfear tricks the girls into finding the information that leads them to Tyr, to the Black Aja. So, of course, they walk into a trap. I'm seriously starting to doubt the intelligence of these girls at some level, because this is the second trap that they've walked into, and I just... Come on. See Egwene go into the world of dreams and channel in the world of dreams. I also loved Perrin's development in this book. So in the last 2 books, he kind of needed to come to terms with his wolf powers. He does have that encounter with the other wolf brother who he sees who is like completely lost himself. He's more wolf than man. And he makes a decision to free Gaul, and then he tells Gaul, hey, he who comes with the dawn that you're looking for is in Tyr. So he's basically like, go find Rand. And then we finally get a romantic relationship that we actually see development of with Fa'il. Bookman gives Perrin a reading of his aura, and she tells him that there will be a falcon and an eagle on his shoulders, and that they'll both be female. And she also tells him that if he sees the most beautiful woman that he's ever seen before, that he should run in the opposite direction. I thought it was really cute that as Perrin and Fa'il started to kind of develop feelings for each other, he wondered at one point if Fa'il was the beautiful woman that Min had warned him about, which was such a change from him having said that, like, her nose was too big for her face. And of course, their relationship culminates in Perrin choosing to save Fa'il from a trap in the world of dreams. Fa'il is a little annoying, but I thought she was a good match for Perrin. Perrin kind of needs someone like... Kind of back on Min, I was really bummed out that we didn't get her in this book very much. She's, like, sent off right at the beginning to Tar Valon. And then we don't see her again, like, in the entire book. The whole book, I was like, when's Min gonna arrive in Tar Valon? Like, what is going on with her? Perhaps the reason why we didn't get a whole lot of her in this book is because of her visions. She's kind of a character that you have to sprinkle. What she kind of brings up at the beginning of the book to Perrin is that even if she warns someone about, like, what she sees in their visions, it doesn't change anything. They still happen. The audience is going to first do like what I do probably, which is like make a note of anything that Min says about her visions, because it's obviously foreshadowing. It takes away from like how the stakes feel. I understand why we don't get a lot of Min. Of course, we also see the Forsaken at work in this book, both in Ilion and in Caemlyn. Moiraine, Lan, Fa'il, and Loial are in Ilion, and they see the Darkhounds. They realize that Samael is in control of Ilion. It was awesome to see Moiraine use this, like, forbidden weave of Balefire. All in all, that whole scene was really, really intense and really cool. It added another layer of depth to Moraine's character. So now I'm sure the part that you all have been waiting for, but Mat was amazing in this book. His chapters were super interesting, especially because, you know, in the last 2 books, I really couldn't care less about him. His luckiness is a really interesting power. Again, we get more, this is not really channeling, it has to do with them being ta'veren. In this book, there's a part where Mat, like, jumps off the bridge because the assassin is, like, tailing him, and he lands on the assassin, and he is totally fine, but the assassin just happens to have landed on his own knife. Like, what are the chances of that? You know at that point that there's something going on with Mat's luckiness where it kind of is, like, this power that he has now, and randomness and luck are, like, really essential parts of his character, which is fitting because he's already kind of like a gambler. I think that Robert Jordan did the right thing, that it was a clever move for Mat to not be a point of view character until this book. Find out in this book that he doesn't really remember much of the journeys, have him feel kind of bland in the last 2 books, so that in this one he could really shine. Say hands down the best Mat moment in this book is his fight with Galad and Gawain. I'm not sure if I'm saying their names correctly. The fight with the 2 of them was awesome. They're very good swordsmen, and Mat just kicks their butts. It was such a good moment. Elaine wants him to take a letter to her mother, and Mat is the person that they choose. It was weird that when he was in Caemlyn, which first of all, I love that he reunited with Tom. I did think it was weird that he just so happened to overhear the plot about killing Elaine that ends up sending him to Tyr. At the time, I kind of figured it had to be like his luck powers at work, that he just so happened to overhear this plot. I was really peeved at the girls when Mat came and, like, let them out of the cell, and they chided him for it. I'm like, poor guy can't even get a thank you. And as I kind of alluded to in the spoiler-free section of this video, Rand isn't really in this book very much, but it's still very much a book about Rand. Since the Dragon Reborn is supposed to be the only person who's able to even touch Callandor and like pull it from the Stone of Tear, kind of like a Sword in the Stone literally reference, right? I understand why Rand would feel the need to go and prove that he really is the Dragon Reborn. And I'm actually glad that we didn't get his point of view very much in this book. He did not want to fulfill his destiny and be the Dragon Reborn. And I don't think I could have taken another chunky book of Rand being that annoying. It was a major bonus to me that this was the first book that Rand started feeling not boring, and it just so happens that that part of the reason, I'm sure, is because we didn't get his point of view of another book of him complaining about his destiny. And like, I understand that like he had a lot riding on his shoulders and we should be a little empathetic towards him, but I did not want to read another page of him complaining about it. So I'm glad that we didn't have to. On the other hand, what we got from Rand in this book was a lot of unsettling behavior. So like, I haven't even gotten into in any of these reviews the Trollocs and how creepy they are and how the really dark stuff that involves the Trollocs, like their cookpots and all of that kind of stuff, it almost comes out of nowhere a lot in this series. Like, you're just going along minding your own business, and then all of a sudden, you know, you see body limbs in a cookpot or whatever. Rand kind of has his own unsettling moments in this book that I didn't expect, that I was very surprised by, and pleasantly surprised by, as weird as that says, because of course that helped inform my opinion of him not really being a boring character. As the reader, you were supposed to be questioning if he was going crazy or if it was just pressure from his destiny. I personally, as I was reading through it, I thought he was going insane. I thought that was because we didn't get his point of view as much to tell us whether or not what we were thinking was right. By the end of the book, you realize that no, he wasn't already going mad. It was just the pressure of his destiny. But that being said, a lot of the moments that we had with him before we really realized that kind of set you up to think that he is going mad. The scene that we get where he makes all of the dead bodies bow to him, I did not see that coming. I did not expect the Rand that we knew in books 1 and 2 to do that. When I first read through that scene, because that was a scene I read more than once because I was kind of so shocked by it that I had to reread it to see what was going on, I didn't think that the people who were joining him at his campfire were evil. I didn't think that they were dark friends. I thought that they were just travelers who wanted to join him. And so I was aghast when he just chopped off the lady's head, and then after he finished killing all of the rest of them, making the corpses bow to him, because of course if he's the Dragon Reborn, then that's what is expected. That was like, whoa. At that moment I was like, oh, okay, Rand, perhaps you are not an uninteresting character after all. The ending is like just packed with things that, just like in the first 2 books, there's a lot to unpack there, and it probably deserves another reread. I reread that ending a couple of times as well to clarify for myself what happened in the climax, just like I had to do for the first 2, because I didn't realize on my first read-through of it that Baal-Zamon was just a Forsaken who had gone mad. Of course, is what Moiraine explains after Rand kills Baal-Zamon, and he leaves behind a dead body, like a physical body. I had to do a double take and reread the whole scene again immediately, because I was like, wait, hold on, what? Is Baal-Zamon's not the Dark One? Wait a minute, what are you talking about? One thing that I knew as I finished this book was that we were definitely going to see more of the Aiel in the next couple of books, because we of course find out that they are the people of the dragon. I had already started guessing about who Rand's actual parents were, and I think we do get it confirmed that his mother was a Maiden of the Spear and an Aiel, and that kind of has to be right, because we find out in the Great Hunt that he was born on the side of Dragonmount during the Aiel War, and that so of course, like, to me, I was like, well, that makes it obvious that he was born from an Aiel. So I thought that his father was someone important from like Andor, or maybe even someone descended from the Manetheren kingdom, mostly because when Min first meets him in Eye of the World and she does a viewing of him, she sees this golden crown of laurel leaves, and that to me kind of indicated that he's related to royalty in some way. And I also, at the end of this book, became convinced that Lady Number 3, so if he's got like the 3 loves or whatever that want to share him, and we already know that one is Min and one is Elaine, but we hadn't met Lady Number 3 yet. I became convinced by the end of this book that she was going to be an Aiel. I was pretty sure that in the next book, Rand would be heading into the Aiel Waste so that he could learn about his past, learn about the people of the dragon, and then also, because we end the novel with the Aiel having helped Rand conquer the Stone of Tear, it just seemed like a natural progression of the plot for him then to go into the Aiel Waste and kind of we see more about them because of that. I am going to get my Shadow Rising review up soon, and I hope that you've been enjoying these reviews so far. If you haven't, I don't know why you'd be watching them, but thank you anyway. I am currently reading Fires of Heaven. I'm almost done with it, so I'll have a review up for that once I'm done. And I am loving the series. I think it's fantastic. I think that it's something that everyone should read. And I do want to, after I finish book 7, so since I'll be halfway through the series, I want to do like a predictions video. And I know that like it's kind of silly to do predictions for a series that's already completely published, but because this is my first time reading through it, I kind of want to just throw out there what I think might happen in the later half of the series once I finish the first half. So if you want to leave me a like or subscribe, that would be awesome. I'd be very much obliged, but do not ever feel obligated to do it. That's totally cool, whatever. And if you want to, leave me a comment below and tell me what your favorite part of The Dragon Reborn was, if you feel so inclined. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you later. Bye!